I've been to the zoo. I said I've been to the zoo. Hey, mister! I said I've been to the zoo.
Sorry. Were you talking to me?
I went to the zoo and then I walked until I came here. Have I been walking north?
North. I think so. Let me see.
Is that Fifth Avenue?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And what about that cross street? That one to the right?
That's 74th Street.
And the zoo is around 65th Street, so I've been walking north.
Yes, it seems so.
Good old north. But not due north.
Well, no, not due north, but we call it north. It's, northerly.
Well, boy, you're not going to get lung cancer, are you?
No, sir. Not from this.
No, sir. What you'll probably get is cancer of the mouth, and then you'll have to wear one of those things that Freud wore when they took one whole side of his jaw away. What do you call those things?
Prosthesis?
A prosthesis, that's it. You're an educated man, aren't you? Are you a doctor?
Oh, no. I read about it somewhere. Time magazine, I think. I don't know.
Well, Time magazine isn't for blockheads.
No, suppose not.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's Fifth Avenue over there.
Yes. Yes.
I don't like the west side of the park very much.
Oh? Why not?
I don't know.
Oh.
Do you mind if we talk?
No, I don't mind.
Yes, you do. You do.
No, I don't mind, really.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't mind at all. Really.
It's a nice day.
Yes, it's lovely.
I've been to the zoo.
Yes, I think you said that, didn't you?
You'll read about it in the newspaper tomorrow. That is, if you don't see it on your television tonight. You have television, don't you?
Well, yes, we have two. One for the children.
You're married.
Why, certainly.
It's not a law, for God's sake.
Well, of course not.
And you have a wife.
Yes.
And you have kids.
Yes.
Boys?
No. Girls. Both girls.
Yeah, but you wanted boys.
Naturally, every man wants a son, but you know that's...
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
I wasn't going to say that. That's cliche.
And you won't be having any more children, will you?
No.
I don't know, maybe I'm just guessing. Is it your wife?
Now that's none of your business. But do you understand? Well, you're right. We will have no more children.
That is the way the cookie crumbles.
Yes, I guess so.
Well, what else?
What were you saying about the zoo that I read or see something on...
I'll tell you about that soon. But first, do you mind if I ask you questions?
No, not really, no.
I'll tell you why I do it. See, I don't talk to very many people except to say things like, give me a beer, or where's the John, or what time does the feature go on, or keep your hands to yourself, buddy. You know, things like that.
I must say, I don't think I understand.
But when I do talk to somebody, I like to really talk to him, you know. I like to get to know him. I like to get to know all about him.
And am I the guinea pig for today?
Well, on a sun-drenched Sunday afternoon like this, who better than a nice married man with 2 daughters and a dog?
No.
2 dogs?
No.
No dogs? Well, that's a shame because you look like an animal man to me. Cats.
Huh?
Oh, cats! That couldn't have been your idea, no, sir.
No.
Your wife and daughters. Is there anything else that I should know?
There are two parakeets, one for each of my daughters.
Birds?
Keep them in a cage in their bedroom.
Do they carry diseases, the birds?
I don't believe so, no.
Well, that's a shame, because if they did, you could set them loose in the house and the cats could eat them and die, maybe. Oh, well, what do you do? How do you support your enormous household?
I hold an executive position at a small publishing house. We publish textbooks.
Well, that sounds nice. Very, very nice. What do you make?
No, look here.
Oh, come on.
Well, I make around $18,000 a year, but I only carry, $40 on me at any one time, just in case you're a... Hold up, man.
Where do you live? Oh, look, I'm not going to rob you, and I'm not going to kidnap your wife, your cats, your parakeets, or your daughters.
I live between Lexington and 5th Avenue on 74th Street.
That wasn't so hard, now was it?
I'm sorry, it's just... You don't really carry on a conversation. You just sort of ask questions, and normally I'm reticent. Why do you just stand there like that?
I'll start moving around in a little while, and eventually I'll sit down. Wait until you see the expression on his face.
What's that? Whose face? Is this something about the zoo?
The what?
The zoo. Is it something about the zoo?
The zoo.
You've mentioned it several times now.
Zoo. Oh, right. I was there before I came here. I told you about that. Say, what's the dividing line between the upper middle class and the lower upper middle class?
My dear fellow.
Don't my dear fellow me.
Was I patronizing? Sorry, I believe I was. It's just your question about the classes bewildered me.
And when you're bewildered, you become patronizing.
I don't express myself too well sometimes. I'm in publishing, not writing.
So be it. The fact is, I was being patronizing.
Oh, no, you needn't say that.
Who are your favorite writers? Baudelaire and Norman Mailer?
Well, I like a great many writers. I like to say that I have a considerable catholicity of taste. Both of those men are fine, each in his own way. Baudelaire, clearly the finer of the two, but Mailer, he has a place in our
Just skip it.
Sorry.
Do you want to know what I did before I went to the zoo today? I walked all the way up 5th Avenue from Washington Square. All the way.
Oh, you live in the village.
No, I don't. I took the subway down to the village so I could walk up 5th Avenue to the zoo. It's a thing a person has to do sometimes. Sometimes a person has to go a great distance out of his way to come back a short distance correctly.
I thought you lived in the village.
Well, I don't. What were you trying to do anyway? Make sense out of things, bring order, the old pigeonhole bit. Well, that's easy, I'll just tell you. See, I live in a 4-story brownstone rooming house on the Upper West Side between Columbus Avenue and Central Park West. I live on the top floor, rear west. It's a laughably small room. And one of my walls is made out of beaver board. And this beaver board wall separates my room from another laughably small room. So I assume that the two rooms were once one room. A small room, but not necessarily laughable. The room beyond my beaver board wall is occupied by a colored queen who always keeps his door open. Well, not always, but always when he's plucking his eyebrows, which he does with Buddhist concentration. Now, this colored queen has rotten teeth, which is rare. And he has a Japanese kimono, which is also pretty rare. And he wears this kimono to and from the John in the hall, and that's frequent. I mean to say that he goes to the John a lot.
Right.
Now, he never bothers me, and he never brings anybody up to his room. All he does is wear his kimono and pluck his eyebrows and go to the John. Now, the other rooms on my floor are a little larger, but they're pretty small, too. One of them is occupied by a Puerto Rican family, a husband, a wife, and some kids. I don't know how many. And there's someone else living on my floor, but I don't know who it is. I've never seen who it is. Never, never, ever.
Why do you live there?
Well, I don't know.
It doesn't sound like a very nice place where you live.
Well, no, it's not an apartment in the East 70s, but then again, I don't have one wife and two daughters and two cats and two parakeets. What I do have, however, I have some toilet articles and a few clothes and a hot plate that I'm not supposed to have and a can opener, one that works with a key, you know, and a cup, 2 knives, a plate, a drinking glass, 2 picture frames, both empty, and a pack of pornographic playing cards, a regular deck, and an old Western Union typewriter that only prints capital letters, and a strong box without a lock that has in it what?
I assume you put your money in there?
Rocks!
Rocks.
See, rounded rocks that I picked up from the beach when I was a kid. And underneath the rocks, way down, are letters. Please, letters. Please, when will you do this? And please, why don't you do that? Letters. And when letters, too. When will you write? When will you come? When? These letters are from more recent years.
About those 2 empty picture frames.
I don't see why they deserve any explanation at all. Isn't it obvious? I don't have any pictures of anyone to put in them.
Oh, well, your parents? Perhaps a girlfriend?
You seem like a very sweet man, and possessed of a truly enviable innocence, I'm sure. But the fact remains that good old Mom and good old Pop are dead.
Oh.
I'm broken up about it, really I am. But that particular vaudeville act is playing the cloud circuit these days, so I don't see how I can look at them all neat and framed. Besides, or rather, to be pointed about it, good old Mom walked out on good old Pop when I was 10.5 years old. And she embarked on an adulterous turn of our southern states, a journey of about a year's duration. And her most constant companion during that time, among many others, was a Mr. Barleycorn. At least that's what good old Pop said when he went south and came back and brought her body north. You see, we'd received news between Christmas and New Year's that good old Mom had parted with the ghost in some dump in Alabama. And having parted with the ghost, she was less welcome, you understand. I mean, what was she? A stiff? A Yankee stiff. At any rate, good old Pop celebrated the New Year's for an even 2 weeks before slapping himself into the front of a somewhat moving city omnibus. So that sort of cleaned things out for me family-wise, you understand. Well, actually, no. There was good old Mom's sister, who was given neither to sin nor the consolations of the bottle. And I moved in on her, and my memory of her is slight, excepting I remember she did all things dourly, eating and sleeping and working and praying. And she dropped dead on the stairs of her apartment, my apartment then too, on the day of my high school graduation. A terribly Middle European joke, if you ask me.
My. Oh, my.
Oh, your what? But that was a long time ago, and I don't have any feelings about any of it that I care to admit even to myself. But perhaps you can see why good old Mom and good old Pop are frameless. Say, what is your name? Your first name?
Oh, I'm Peter.
I'd forgotten to ask you. Well, I'm Jerry.
Oh, hello, Jerry.
Let's see now. What's the point of having a girl's picture, especially in 2 frames? I have 2 picture frames, you remember.
Yeah,
I never see the pretty little ladies more than once, and most of them wouldn't be caught dead in the same room with a camera. It's odd, and I wonder if it's sad.
The girls?
No.
Oh.
The fact that I only see the pretty little ladies once. You see, I've never been able to have sex with, or how is it put, make love to anybody more than once. One time, and that's it. Except for when I was 15 years old, and I hang my head in shame that puberty was late. I was an HOMOSEXUAL. I mean, I was queer. Queer, queer, queer. Bells ringing, banners snapping in the wind. And twice a day for those 11 days, I met with the park superintendent's son, who was a Greek boy whose birthday was the same as mine, except he was a year older. I think that I was very much in love.
Oh.
Maybe just with sex.
Oh.
But that was the jazz of a very special hotel, now wasn't it? And now, oh, how I do love the pretty little ladies. How I do love them. For about an hour.
Well, I mean, it seems perfectly simple to me.
Are you going to tell me to get married and have parakeets?
Forget the parakeets. And you know what? Stay single if you want to. It's really no business of mine. I didn't even start this conversation in the first place.
All right. I'm sorry. You're not angry, are you?
No, I'm not angry, no.
Well, good. You know, it's interesting to me. I thought that you would have asked me about the pornographic playing cards instead of the picture frames.
I've seen those cards before.
That is not the point. I'm sure that when you were a kid, you and your buddies passed them around, or maybe you had a pack of your own.
I guess a lot of us did back then.
And you threw them away just before you got married.
Look here, I didn't need anything like that once I got older.
Oh no!
I've really rather not talk about these things.
So don't. I wasn't trying to plumb your post-adolescent sexual life in hard times. The point I was getting at was the value difference between pornographic playing cards when you're a kid and pornographic playing cards when you're an adult. See, when you're a kid, the cards are a substitute for the real experience, you see, but when you're an adult, the cards are a substitute for the fantasy. But I imagine that you'd rather hear about what happened at the zoo.
Ah, yes, the zoo. I mean, that is...
Now, I'll let you in on what happened at the zoo. But first, I want to tell you some other things.
Of course.
I believe I already told you about the 4-story brownstone rooming house where I live. And I think the rooms get nicer as you go down. I think they do, but I don't know. I've never met anybody on the 2nd or 3rd floor. I do, however, know that there is a woman living on the 3rd floor in the front. I know this because she cries all the time. Whenever I go out, whenever I come back in, whenever I pass by her door, I always hear her crying. Muffled, but very determined. Very determined indeed. But the one that I'm getting at, and all about the dog, is the landlady. Now, I don't like to use words that are too harsh in describing people. I don't like to. But the landlady is a fat, ugly, mean, stupid, unwashed, misanthropic, cheap, drunken bag of garbage. And you may have noticed that I don't like to use profanity, so I can't describe her as well as I might.
You describe her, vividly?
Well, thank you. At any rate, my landlady has a dog, and I will tell you about this dog. And she and her dog are the gatekeepers of my dwelling. The woman is bad enough. She leans around in the entrance hall all day to make sure I don't bring in things or people. And then, when she's had her mid-afternoon pint of lemon-flavored gin, she grabs onto my coat and presses her disgusting body up against mine so she can talk to me. The smell of her body and her breath, you cannot imagine it. And then, somewhere in the back of her pea-sized little brain, an organ developed just enough to allow her to eat and to drink and to emit some foul parody of sexual desire. And I, Peter, I am the object of her sweaty lust.
It's disgusting. It's terrible.
But I have found a way to keep her off. Whenever she grabs onto me and mumbles in my ear about her room and how I should come there, I merely say to her, "But love, what about yesterday and the day before?" And she puzzles. And she makes little slits of her tiny eyes. And it's at this point, Peter, that I think I might be doing some good in that accursed house. And then a simple-minded smile begins to spread slowly across her unthinkable face. And she giggles and she groans as she thinks about yesterday and the day before and relives what never happened. And then she motions to her great big black monster of a dog and they go back to her room and I am safe until our next meeting.
It's really unthinkable. You know, I find it hard to believe that people such as that really are.
It's for reading about, isn't it?
Yes.
And fact is better left to fiction. You're right, Peter. But I had meant to tell you about the dog, and I shall now.
Yes, the dog. I mean, that's if you really feel like you...
Don't go. You're not thinking of going, are you?
No, I was just...
Because if you stay, do you know what then? If you stay, I'll tell you about what happened at the zoo.
You are just full of stories, aren't you?
No one is keeping you here. You don't have to listen. You just remember that. You keep that in your mind.
I know that. Thank you.
Well, good. All right. The story of Jerry and the dog. Now, what I'm about to tell you has something to do with how sometimes it's necessary for a person to go a great distance out of his way to come back a short distance correctly. At least I think it does. I don't know. At any rate, it's why I went to the zoo today and why I walked northerly rather, until I came here. All right. The dog, I think I told you, is a great big black monster of a beast with giant oversized head and tiny ears and eyes all bloodshot, infected maybe, and a body you can see the ribs through the skin.
Oh, no.
Now the dog is black, all black, except for the eyes and an open sore on his right forepaw, and that's red.
Oh, no.
And oh yes, the poor beast almost always has an erection.
Oh.
And that's red too.
Oh.
Let me see. There's a grayish yellow-white color too when he bares his fangs. Like this. Which is what he did when he saw me for the first time, the day that I moved in. Now, from the very first moment that I laid eyes on this animal, I was worried about him, you know, and animals don't take to me like St. Francis had birds hanging off of him all the time. What I mean is that animals are indifferent to me.
Oh.
Like people, mostly. But this dog wasn't indifferent. From the very beginning, he'd snarl and then try to go for one of my legs. Not like he was rabid, mind you. He was sort of a stumbly dog. But he wasn't half-assed either. He had a good stumbly run. Look, you can see right here where he got a piece of my trousers. That happened on the second day that I lived there. But I kicked free and I got away fast. So that was that. You know, I've often wondered how the other roomers manage it. But you know what I think? I think that it only has to do with me. Cozy. Anyway, this went on every day for about a week. Always when I came in, but never when I went out. And that's funny.
Oh.
I mean, it was funny.
Oh.
I could pack up and move out into the street for all the dog cared. So one day I was up in my room and I was thinking about the dog, and I decided something. I decided that I would try to kill the dog with kindness.
Sure.
And if that didn't work, I would just kill him.
Wait, what?
Don't react, Peter. Just listen. So the next day I went out and I bought a bag of hamburgers. Medium rare, no onions, no ketchup. And on the way home I threw away the rolls and I just kept the meat. And when I got back to the rooming house, the dog was waiting for me. I opened the door to the entrance hall and there he was. It figured. So I went in very cautiously and I had the hamburgers, you remember. And I opened up the bag and set it down on the floor about 12 feet from where the dog was snarling at me. And he snarled, and then he stopped snarling, and then he moved slowly and then faster and faster toward the meat. And when he got to it, he stopped and he looked at me and I smiled. You understand? And he turned his face back to the meat and he sniffed some more. And then, he tore into him. It was like he'd never eaten anything in his life before except like garbage, which may have well been the case. I don't think the landlady ever eats anything besides garbage. Anyway, he ate all the hamburgers almost all at once, making sounds in his throat like a woman. And when he finished the meat and tried to eat the paper too, he sat back and he smiled. Oh. It was a very gratifying few moments. And then, bam! He snarled and tried to get me again. But he didn't get me that time either. So I went back up to my room, and I'm thinking about the dog again, and to be honest, I am offended. And I'm damn mad, too. 6 perfectly good hamburgers without enough pork in them to make them disgusting. I mean, I was offended. But I decided to keep trying. You see, the dog had what I thought amounted to as an antipathy toward me, and I wondered if I mightn't overcome that antipathy. So I repeated my little experiment for 5 more days, but the results were always the same. Snarl, move, slowly, faster, gobble, rah! Smile, snarl, bam! And by this point, Columbus Avenue was littered with hamburger rolls, and I was less offended than disgusted. So I decided to kill the dog.
Wait, no.
Oh, don't worry about it, Peter. I didn't succeed.
Well, I hardly see how that...
The day that I decided to kill the dog, I went out and I bought only 1 hamburger and what I thought was a murderous portion of rat poison. And when I bought the hamburger, I asked the man not to bother with the roll because all I needed was the meat. I expected some sort of reaction from him, you know, like, "We don't sell no hamburgers without rolls," or "What are you gonna do, eat it out your hands?" But no, he just smiled benignly and wrapped up the hamburger in wax paper and said, "A bite for your pussycat." And I wanted to say to him, "Well, no, actually it's part of a plot to murder a dog that I know." But you can't say a dog that I know without sounding funny, right? So I said, a little too loudly and a little too formally, I'm afraid, "Yes, a bite for my pussycat." And people looked up. It always happens when I try to simplify things. People look up. But that is neither hither nor thither. So, on my way home to the rooming house, I kneaded the hamburger and the rat poison together in my hands, at this point feeling about as much sadness as disgust. When I opened the door to the entrance hall, there the monster was, Malevolence with an erection.
Oh.
And so I put the poison patty down, and he gobbled it up as usual, and then he smiled, which almost made me sick. And then, bam! I sprinted up the stairs as usual, and he didn't get me as usual. And so it came to pass that the beast was deathly ill.
No.
I knew this because he no longer attended to me, and because the landlady sobered up. And she stopped me in the hall that very same evening and confided in me that God had struck her puppy dog a surely fatal blow. And her eyes were wide open for the first time, and they looked like the dog's eyes. And she sniveled, and she implored me to pray for the animal, and I wanted to say to her, but madam, I have myself to pray for, and the colored queen, and the Puerto Rican family, and the person in the front room whom I never met, and the woman who cries with determination behind her closed door, and all the other people in all the other rooming houses everywhere. Besides, madam, I don't know how to pray. But to simplify things, I said that I would pray. And she looked up. And she said that I was a liar, and that I probably wanted the dog to die. And I told her, and there is so much truth here, Peter. I told her that I didn't want the dog to die. But I didn't. I didn't want the dog to die, not just because I was the one who had poisoned him. I wanted the dog to live so that I could see what our new relationship might be like. Please understand, Peter. We have to know the effects of our actions. At any rate, the dog recovered.
Oh.
I have no idea how, unless he's descended from the puppy that guards the gates of hell or some such resort. I don't know. I'm not up on my mythology. Are you?
Oh, well, I think you might be referring to...
At any rate, Peter, at any rate, and you've missed the $8,000 question. At any rate, the dog recovered his health and the landlady recovered her thirst, in no way altered by the Bow Wow's deliverance. One evening, when I was coming home from a movie that was playing on 42nd Street, after the landlady told me that Puppykins was better, I was hoping that he would be waiting for me. I was, well, how would you put it? Enticed.
Psychopath?
Fascinated.
Homicidal?
No. Heart-shatteringly anxious. I was heart-shatteringly anxious to confront my friend again. Yes, Peter, friend.
No.
That's the only word for it. I was heart-shatteringly, etc. to confront my doggy friend again. So I opened the door to the entrance hall, and I advanced unafraid to the center of the room. And there the dog was, looking at me. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. And in the 2 minutes or 2 hours that we looked into each other's faces, we made contact. Now here is what I had wanted to happen. I loved the dog now, and I hoped that the dog could love me. You see, I had tried to love, and I had tried to kill, and both had been unsuccessful by themselves. And I hoped, and I don't know why I expected the dog to understand anything, much less my motivations, but I hoped that the dog could understand. It's just that. It's just that if you can't deal with people, you have to find a way of dealing with something. A person has to have a way of dealing with something. If not with people, with something. With a bed, with a cockroach, with a mirror. No. That's too hard. That's one of the last steps. With a bed, with a cockroach, with a toilet paper roll. No. That's a mirror too. Always check bleeding. Always check bleeding. Always check bleeding. Don't you see how hard it is to find something? with a street corner, with too many lights all reflecting in the oily, wet streets, with a wisp of smoke, with a wisp of smoke, with a pack of pornographic playing cards, with a strongbox without a lock, with love, with vomiting, with fury because the pretty little ladies are not pretty little ladies, with making money with your body, which is an act of love, and I can prove it, with howling because you are alive, with God who is a colored queen who wears a kimono and plucks his eyebrows, who is a woman who cries with determination behind her closed door, with God who I'm told turned his back on the whole thing some time ago. With someday, Peter, with someday, with people. Someday with people. With an idea, with a concept. And wherever better in this humiliating excuse for a jail. Wherever better to communicate one single, simple-minded concept than in an entrance hall. I mean, it would be a start. And where better to make a beginning, to make the beginning of an understanding than with a dog. Just that. A dog. So, the dog and I were looking at each other, and what I saw then has been the same ever since. Whenever the dog and I see each other, we regard each other with a mixture of sadness and suspicion, and then we feign indifference. We move past each other safely. We have an agreement. We had made many attempts at contact, and we had failed. So the dog has returned to garbage, and I to solitary but free passage. I mean to say I have gained solitary free passage, if that much further loss can said to be gain. And I have learned that neither kindness nor cruelty, independent of each other, creates any effect beyond themselves, but that together, combined at the same time, they are the teaching emotion. And what is gained is loss. The dog and I have attained a compromise. We neither love nor hurt because we do not try to reach each other any longer. And what's my attempt to feed the dog an act of love? And perhaps were the dog's attempts to bite me not an act of love? Peter, if we can so misunderstand, then why have we invented the word love in the first place? The story of Jerry and the dog, the end. Well, Peter, what do you think? Do you think I could sell that story to the Reader's Digest and make a couple $100 for the most unforgettable character I've ever met? Come on, Peter, tell me what you think.
I don't think... I'm not sure that Why did you tell me all this?
Well, why not?
I don't understand.
That's a lie.
No, it isn't. No.
I tried to explain it to you, and I went very slowly. It all has
I don't want to
do...
hear. I don't want to hear anymore. I don't want to hear anymore. I don't understand you, or your landlady, or her dog, or
her dog. I thought that it was my. No. You're right, Peter. It is her dog. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course you don't understand. I don't live on your block.
Oh.
I'm not married to two parakeets or whatever your setup is. I am a permanent transient, and my home is the sickening rooming houses on the west side of New York City, which is the greatest city in the world. Amen.
I'm sorry. Look, I didn't mean to...
Just forget it. I suppose you don't quite know what to make of me.
We get all sorts of publishing?
You're a very funny man. No, I mean that. You're a very a richly comic person.
No, not really, no.
Peter, do I annoy you or do I confuse you?
Well, I must confess this was not the afternoon I'd anticipated.
You mean that I'm not the gentleman that you were expecting?
I wasn't expecting anybody.
I'm sure that's the truth. But I'm here now, and I am not leaving.
Well, you may not be, but I must be getting home soon. You see, it's...
Oh, no. You just stay a little while longer.
I've got to
Come on, Peter. Just stay a little while. Come on.
No, I've got to get home soon. No, really, no. The cats are making dinner. No, the parakeets are setting the table. No, I'm having my favorite. No, stop. Jerry, stop. Did you just tickle? I can't believe this is what did I say?
Ooh, Peter.
What?
Listen now.
What is it?
Peter, do you want to hear about what happened at the zoo?
The what? Oh, the zoo! I had my own zoo going there for a minute. The parakeets.
Yes, Peter, that was very funny. I hadn't expected it. But do you want to hear about what happened at the zoo or not?
Yes, by all means. Tell me what happened at the zoo.
I'll tell you about what happened at the zoo, but first I want to tell you about why I went to the zoo. You see, I went to the zoo to find out more about the ways that people exist with animals and the ways that animals exist with people. It probably wasn't a very fair test, what with everybody separated from everyone else by bars, and the animals for the most part from each other, and always the humans from the animals, but if it's a zoo, that's the way it is. Move over.
Sorry, have no room?
And the people are there, and the animals are there, and it's a Sunday afternoon, so all the children are there too. Move over.
All right.
And it's a hot day, so the stench is there too, and all the balloon sellers, and all the ice cream sellers, and all the seals are barking, and all the birds are screaming. Move over.
Look, you have more than enough room.
And then I am there, and it's feeding time at the lion cage, and one of the lion keepers goes into the lion cage to feed one of the lions. Move over!
I can't move over anymore. What's the matter with you?
Do you want to hear the rest of the story or not?
I'm not so sure. I certainly don't want to be punched in my arm.
Oh, like that!
Stop it! What is the matter with you?
I am crazy, you bastard!
That's not funny.
Peter, I want this bench. You go sit on that bench over there, and if you're good, I'll tell you the rest of the story.
But, whatever for? What is the matter with you? Besides, I see no reason why I should go up this bench. I sit on this bench nearly every Sunday afternoon. Well, good weather. It's secluded here. No one's ever around. I have it all to myself.
I want this bench, Peter, so you get off of it. No. I said I want this bench, and I am going to have it. Now get over there.
People can't have everything they want. Well, people can have some of the things they want, but they can't have everything. You should know that. It's a rule.
You are an imbecile. You're slow-witted.
Stop it.
You are a vegetable, so go lie down on the ground.
Now, you look here. I have put up with you all afternoon.
Oh, not really.
Well, long enough. I put up with you long enough. I listened to you because you seemed like... I thought you wanted to talk to somebody, you know?
You put things well,
yes.
Don't you? Economically even, and yet, oh, what is the word? I want to put justice to your... Oh, Jesus, you make me sick! Now, get off of my bench!
My bench!
Get out of my sight!
God damn it! No, that is enough! I have enough of you! No, I will not give up this bench! Can't have it, and that's that! Now you go away! Go away, I said! Get out of here! Leave! Oh, if you don't move on, you're a bum. That's what you want. No, if you don't move on, I'll call a policeman, and then I'll make you go. I warn you, I will call the policeman.
You won't find any policemen around here. They're all over on the west side of the park chasing berries down from trees and out of the bushes. That's all that they do. That is their function. So scream your head off. It won't do you any good.
Police! I warn you, I will have you arrested. Police! I said police! I feel ridiculous.
You look ridiculous. A grown man crying out for the police on a bright, sunny Sunday afternoon in the park with nobody harming you. If a policeman did come along this way to fill his quota, he'd probably take you in as a nut.
God, I just came here to read, and now you want me to give up the bench? See, you are mad.
Hey, I got news for you, as they say. I'm on your precious bench now, and you are never going to have it for yourself ever again.
Look, you. Get off of my bench. I don't care if it makes any sense or not. I want this bench to myself, and I want you off of it.
Look who's mad.
You better stop it.
No.
I warn you.
Do you know how ridiculous you look now?
It doesn't matter. Get away from my bench.
Why? You have everything that you want. You told me about your home and your family and your own little zoo. You have everything. And now you want this bench. Are these the kind of things that men fight for? Is this medal? Is this your honor? Have you ever heard anything more absurd?
Absurd! Look, I'm not going to talk to you about honor or even try to explain it to you. Besides, it isn't a question of honor. But even if it were, you wouldn't understand.
You don't know what you're saying, do you? This is probably the first time in your life you've had anything more trying to face than changing your cat's toilet box. Stupid. Don't you understand, not even in the slightest, what other people need?
Oh boy, well listen to you. Well, you certainly don't need this bench, that's for sure.
Yes, I do.
I've come to this bench for years. I have hours of great pleasure, great satisfaction right here. And that is important to a man. I'm a responsible person. I'm a grown-up. This is my bench. You have no right to take that away from me.
Fight for it then. You defend yourself. You defend your bench.
You push me to it. Get up and fight.
Like a man.
Yes, like a man if you want to mock me even further.
I do have to give you credit for one thing, Peter. You are a vegetable, and a slightly nearsighted one, I should say.
Stop it!
But as they say on TV all the time, you have a certain dignity. It surprises me.
It's enough!
Very well, Peter. We'll battle for the bench. But we're not evenly matched.
See, you are mad. See, you're stark-raving mad, and now you're gonna kill me!
Pick it up. You pick up the knife, and then we'll be more evenly matched.
No.
I said you pick up the knife and you fight me with it, you miserable bastard! You fight for your self-respect, you fight for your goddamn bench! You fight for your family, you fight for your cat, you fight for your parakeet, you fight for your daughter, you fight for your wife, you fight for your man, you pathetic vegetable! You couldn't even get to your wife with a male child!
It is a matter of genetics, not manhood, you monster! Now I'm gonna give you one last chance. Just get out of here. Leave me alone.
So be it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Thank you, Peter.
What?
Thank you. You don't know how afraid I was that you were going to leave me. You don't know how afraid I was that you would go away. I knew I went to the zoo today, and I would walk north, northerly rather. I knew I wanted to find you, and the things that I would tell you would. Oh, here we are, Peter. Here we are. You have delivered me. Dear Peter. Hurry away now. You don't want to be here when anybody comes. Hurry away now, quick. I'll tell you one thing, Peter. You won't be coming around here anymore. You have been dispossessed. You have lost your bench, but you have kept your honor. Oh, Peter, you're not a vegetable. You're not a vegetable. You're an animal, too. Hurry away now. Hurry away. Hurry away. Oh, Peter. Peter, wait. Come get your book. Don't forget your book. Don't forget your book. It's over here. It's over here on your bench. Well, my bench, actually. Now, hurry away. Hurry away. Hurry away. The cats are making dinner. The birds are setting the table.